Tyrion Lannister, in the books and in the TV show, more so in the books, but he's one of the most important characters in all of the A Song of Ice and Fire universe. One of the dire questions that I have from Season 7 is what in the heck was said between him and Cersei during that conversation that took place in the final episode. Let's discuss all that in a little bit on Tyrion's backstory. Before we get started, I am in fact having a giveaway here on this channel. It's going to be a weekly giveaway for a $10 Amazon gift card. If you would like to enter the contest and win the gift card, all you have to do is leave a like on this video, leave a comment down below, make sure you're subscribed, and then turn on your notifications so that way you get alerted every time I drop a Game of Thrones video throughout this long night. Also, check out the Gleam.io link down below in the description and make sure you go enter all those bonus ways as well. Tyrion Lannister is actually the youngest son of Joanna Lannister and Lord Tywin. Tywin is the head of House Lannister and the richest man in the Seven Kingdoms and Lord Paramount of the Westerlands. Of course, he's dead now. The Westerlands are one of the constituent regions of the Seven Kingdoms, just like the North and with Arya, and House Lannister of Casterly Rock is one of the great houses of that realm. He is actually the younger brother of Jaime and Cersei Lannister, aka Twin Twist. His mother, Joanna Lannister, died giving birth to him. His father and Cersei blamed Tyrion for the death of their mother, Joanna. He is a dwarf, which has caused him major problems and persecution throughout his life. His size has led him to be referred to by various names, such as the Imp, the Half-Man, and many other unpleasant titles. This is mitigated by his intellect and his family's wealth and power. If Tyrion had been born into a non-noble family, like to a random family, he probably just would have been left out in the woods, or like Lord Tywin says on the TV show, he would have taken him out to the waves and drowned him. But because Tyrion was born into a noble house, this spared him and sort of gave him a somewhat normal life. Even though his father doesn't think much of him, he has had benefits of being raised with all of this money. He's got wealth, education, and is expected to lead his life as a credit to the Lannister name. He is committed to the good of both his house, and since Cersei married King Robert Baratheon, his family continued to hold the throne. Just a little bit more into insight into how Tyrion was when he was younger. When he was 16, he met a wheelwright daughter named Tysha, and that became his first wife, apparently the victim of an attempted rape. While his brother and Jaime ran off the attackers, Tyrion helped Tysha recover from the ordeal, and they became lovers. They found a drunken, wandering septon willing to marry them, and briefly, they lived as husband and wife. That is until Lord Tywin finds out, and long story short, he ended up having all of the Lannister soldiers rape her, and then Tyrion went last. So Tywin is not the best father figure. And skipping a little bit ahead here, Tyrion in Season 7 was, not necessarily a disappointment, but I didn't understand some of the directional, the ways they took his character in the show. I didn't agree with some of that. Mainly it's just because Tyrion, up until Season 6, really had some of the best scenes, the best lines, and he was very well written. You can tell that Dan and Dave favored him. You could tell that he was one of their favorite POV chapters to read from the novel. Speaking of which, Tyrion actually has 36 POV chapters, which makes him in more of the books than anyone else. He has the most POV chapters. So because of this, a lot of people think he's one of the most important characters in Game of Thrones and in A Song of Ice and Fire. I tend to agree with that, because why would you be given so much screen time and so much book time if you weren't set to play some major role in, the final of either A Dreamless Spring for the novels or in Season 8 for Game of Thrones. So when you put all that together, you kind of have to, when theorizing for Tyrion, you have to remove yourself from the fact that, you don't agree with some of the directional choices they make, but overall, in general, where will he end up? And honestly, I see Tyrion making an excellent leader. I'm not saying that I think he'll be sitting the Iron Throne, but out of every single character that's left on the TV show, we all know that Daenerys, Jon, Arya, and, Sandor and Brienne are all tied for me. Jon and Daenerys are obviously tied at number 1, but Tyrion fits in there too. So it's like, out of everybody there, I'm not just saying this because, I love Tyrion, but honestly, I think he's the most qualified to rule the Seven Kingdoms. Like, he has the most, at one point, his family had the most influence, but he's had the upbringing to do so. Daenerys was pretty much raised in a foreign land, so the people of Westeros, it's going to be pretty hard for them to accept that. And Jon Snow does not want the throne. He literally would be happy with a shack up by the wall somewhere after all this is said and done, as long as he's got some dragons with him. Now, what I would personally like to see happen is that by the end of all this, if The Night King doesn't claim Westeros for another long night and everyone's not dead. Mind you, if that was the ending, everyone's heads would explode. But if there's actually people left to live on in Westeros, I would like to see them have like a democratic leadership where there's a group of maybe 5 individuals that are selected and the citizens of Westeros vote on who they think would be the best leader. If that were the case, we could have someone like Daenerys, Jon Snow, Sansa, Tyrion, and maybe Jaime. I don't know if he's going to survive the events of Season 8, but if he does, if he hadn't have killed the Mad King, then, all of the citizens of King's Landing would have been murdered anyway. So I think Jaime deserves a little bit of credit for that. But if you did have those people up on stage and, someone was voting for them, I think, honestly, Tyrion should get the most votes. You have Jon, who doesn't really want the Iron Throne. You have Daenerys, who's this foreign woman who's came over trying to rule everything with dragons. I'm just looking at it from an outsider, citizens of Westeros perspective. That's not how I see it, but that's how a citizen of Westeros would see it. Then you have Jaime, who, for somewhat has done shady stuff the entire time, but that's just because he didn't spread the rumors like he should have, saying like, look, man, if I hadn't killed the Mad King, he would have burned all you guys anyway. But that's not the type of dude, which in my book, that's what makes him a good leader. Then you have Tyrion, who has honestly done the most for the Seven Kingdoms. He's tried to ice it over with the North when all that was going down. You remember he tried to build Bran's saddle. He tried to restore relations with a lot of the other, individuals in Seven Kingdoms, and it just makes sense. Okay, so, to summarize all that, I know my words are jumbled, but that's because I don't write scripts for these videos. But to summarize all that, I think Tyrion would make for an excellent leader, but that's not the point of this video, nor the point of this theory. The point of this video is to find out what was said between Tyrion and Cersei. Basically, what did those two come to an agreement on that allowed Cersei to say, yeah, we're going to come up there and help you guys, even though she was lying. And I honestly think that, the way that it played on screen is Tyrion doesn't necessarily know that she's lying, but they're all going to find out very soon because we saw that Jaime was leaving to basically go and inform them of that, or to actually follow through with, Cersei's pledge. So what was said in there that made them come into that agreement that was like, yeah, I'll help you? Okay, so to help us with theorizing about this, look at the contextual evidence before Tyrion goes and talks with Cersei privately. He mentions that sometimes it's good to lie. Now let's pause for a second, let that sink in. Why would they set that up like that? Why was Tyrion just talking about lying? I think that Tyrion worked a deal with Cersei, which we all knew. Obviously, Cersei came back out and agreed with it. But I think that he told Cersei to lie. He said, look, I didn't want to destroy my family. He says this to her. He said, I didn't mean to do it. So that also makes me think that, Tyrion was making terrible decisions during Dany's attack plan on purpose. But that's for another video. Tyrion told Cersei, look, just say you're going to go up north. There's not really any sort of, we're not going to sit here and wait for you to gather your troops and send them up there. What's likely going to happen is we're going to go up there and all die anyway. So your child may in fact be sitting the Iron Throne just for right now, so that King's Landing doesn't get swarmed and so that we don't lose more troops in this unnecessary battle. Just say that you'll help them out. Just say that you'll send your forces up there to help Daenerys and Jon Snow defeat the Long Night, and honestly, they're probably going to die in the process. This betrayal from Tyrion would sort of come out of left field and almost from nowhere, unless you take a second look at the events that surrounded that. If you remember, just an episode prior, when Daenerys flies off to go and help Jon Snow beyond the wall, him and Daenerys have a conversation that now is pretty ironic. She's talking about all of the people that are brave and how they do stupid things, and how Tyrion is brave, but he's not, he's not one of those ones that did. And Tyrion basically propositioned himself to like, what about me? Do you see me in that like? And Daenerys kind of turns him down. Now, not directly, but he could see the way that she reacted to Jon Snow's name, that she was in love with him. So, Tyrion on season 6 had ended in a somewhat good note when he was getting named Hand of the Queen, and him and Daenerys shared that moment. And I don't care what you say, but you can go back and look it up. Tyrion is in love with Daenerys, and he ended season 6 in a good way, and then season 7 not so much. So if he's hurt by love, Tyrion kind of has irrational character traits when that happens. You remember, okay, no, I know it's putting it lightly here, but he was betrayed by Shae, and he murdered Shae with a rope. So I'm not saying that Tyrion wasn't in the right for doing that, which he totally was, but he's been known to act irrational if he is scorned by a lover. So let's say he's never actually made love with Daenerys, but he's in love with her. So it's kind of like, that same thing. He was hurt by her in a non-intentional way, and that may prompt him into making a deal with Cersei. Now, I'm not a big fan of this because I don't think it's really that much of a thing on the TV show, but in the books, Daenerys was set to be betrayed 3 times. In A Dance with Dragons, she's actually warned basically not to trust a number of characters, including a lion. So the quote is this exactly: "Soon comes the pale mare, and after her the others, Kraken and Darkflame, Lion and Griffin, the Sun's Son and the Mummer's Dragon. Trust none of them. Remember the Undying. Beware the perfumed seneschal." There's actually another quote that I want to look at real quick before we get back on track with this theory, and this is the one where the actual 3 treasons prophecy comes into play. Now, this was told to Daenerys directly. "3 fires you must light, 1 for life, 1 for death, and 1 to love. 3 mounts you must ride, 1 to bed, 1 to dread, and 1 to love. 3 treasons you will know." Now pay attention, this is the most important part. "Once for blood, once for gold, and once for love." Now, since those 3 betrayals kind of play a major theme in the books, not so much in the TV show, I'm not a big fan of those. But it was said that Daenerys was supposed to be betrayed 3 times, and Tyrion kind of falls into that because, you know, when you relate it back to that other one that's also talking about betrayals, it says beware of the lion. So if a lion is going to betray Daenerys, the only way it could do so is by becoming her friend first. Because honestly, Daenerys knows that all Lannisters are against her. So it fits with Tyrion even more so that, you know, she's supposed to eventually trust them. You know, it's really hard for me to formulate this theory, and I always do it in the process of making the video. Like, I start the video out one way and end it in a completely different way, one that I didn't know. So that's usually the process with these videos, and at this point I'd have some insane revelation to give you, but I don't really want this theory to come to fruition. I don't want Tyrion to betray Daenerys, but if it's set to happen in the books, it's most likely going to make it onto the TV show, and that just makes me dread. And then one more piece of evidence we have to look at is at the very end of the episode, when Jon Snow and Daenerys officially have the hashtag boat sex, Tyrion kind of walks in on that. He doesn't necessarily walk in on the room, but he walks up and sees what they're about to do, and then he's got this terrible look on his face. Now, that look can mean one of 2 things. One is that he's obviously in love with Daenerys, so seeing her officially bed Jon Snow, he knows that his chances have just gone up in flames. He has no way of ever procuring a relationship with Daenerys. It's just not going to happen. And then the second way could be that he sees that Daenerys is happy and she's in love, and that, you know, things couldn't be going really any better for her. She just lost a dragon, but she also found love, so it's kind of like, you know, and he sees that and then realizes that his betrayal, or that deal that he struck with Cersei, which was to basically just lie and say that you're going to send the troops up there and then not actually do it, and we're all going to die anyway, so you'll still get to sit the Iron Throne, it's just regret. You know, he sees Daenerys and he sees everything that's going on, and he remembers the deal that he made, and he realizes that he committed treason. Honestly, I hope that look was just of pure jealousy, but who knows? If you guys think that Tyrion actually betrayed Daenerys with Cersei by striking up a deal with her in that room, and that made Cersei just basically lie to Daenerys, saying that she would help them when she won't, if you think that, you know, that's the case, you guys let me know down in the comment section down below. If you think that Tyrion, you know, if I read into it too much and Tyrion was just upset because he's obviously in love with Daenerys and it hurts him to see her with another person, you guys let me know all that down below in the comment section. You know, there actually is one more possibility to this theory, and it goes a little bit deeper than Tyrion just saying, hey, you know, lie and say that you'll come and help when you don't. It could also be that Tyrion struck a deal with Daenerys about trying to convince his sister Cersei to come and help him, and that sort of influenced him in this decision making. So let's just say that the reason why it cut is because they kind of wanted to leave it, you know, up in the air for us to discuss. What if that conversation went more along the lines of, look, Cersei, you honestly can't stand against this woman. You stand no chance, and if you fight her, you're going to die. So the deal that I'm here to make with you is that even after all of it's said and done, after we go and fight the White Walkers, if we're successful, if you help us do this, I'll make it so that you have a place to go to. Like, we won't lock you up. We're not going to let you rule in King's Landing, but we're also not going to kill you. Maybe we'll put you in Casterly Rock with Jaime, and you guys can live out your days as sort of like, you know, the rulers of the Westerlands. Which, honestly, that would be Cersei's best option. So, it makes it so that Tyrion doesn't necessarily betray Daenerys, but he also doesn't inform her of his intentions. Maybe because he realizes that Daenerys will not agree with that in those moments, because Daenerys just met Cersei, and Cersei's coming off as this giant, you know, C-U-N-T. So it's totally possible that he wanted to keep those details away from Daenerys so she doesn't overreact in those moments. And basically, he made a deal with Cersei saying, like, look, when it's all said and done, I will make sure that you don't die and make sure that your child goes on to live on and see the future. Not rule the Seven Kingdoms, but rule Westerlands and Casterly Rock. And honestly, Casterly Rock is so well fortified, you'll be safe in there from the White Walkers, even if we're unsuccessful in doing so. Now, obviously, the White Walkers would eventually overrun it, but that could be more along the terms or the deals that Tyrion made with Cersei. And honestly, I like this version of it a little bit better because it involves him not betraying Daenerys. You guys let me know what you think about the alternative to this theory down below in the comment section as well. Another version of that deal could have actually been the fact that Tyrion sacrificed himself in order to receive Cersei's help. Like, basically, he propositioned Cersei where it's like, hey, if you come and help us fight the Long Night and help us save all of Westeros, I'll guarantee you that I'll come and turn myself in, so you'll get some sort of justice. And, you know, he could be accepting in the fact that he's willing to die. He did mention that he feels sorry for the deaths of Cersei's children, and he feels sorry for, you know, the pain that he's brought House Lannister. So it would make sense if it's the final season, and it would be super bittersweet. You know, we have Tyrion, who did survive, but then he ultimately turns himself over to Cersei, who has him killed by maybe the Mountain or something. And also, he could have told Cersei that, hey, I'll put in a good word for you, so maybe Daenerys doesn't kill you and allow you, or banishes you rather, to Casterly Rock. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. Thank you for making it to the end, and also, could you please slap a like on it? The like goal for this video will be 11. If you want to be entered into my contest to win this lovely $10 Amazon gift card, all you have to do is leave a like on this video, comment down below, then make sure you're subscribed to me here on YouTube. Also, go ahead and turn your notifications on so that way you get alerted whenever I drop one of these Game of Thrones video. And you can, if you want to do it even furthermore, follow the gleam.io link down below in the description. I'd like to give a super special thank you to every single one of my Patreons, especially Terry. He's the executive producer of this episode, and without him, these videos would not be possible. My name's Mark. I want to thank you all again so much for watching. This has been Sir Hunt's Reviews.